Now, we've used the term raga earlier in the semester to imply an Indian mode or scale, but raga is much more than our Western concept of a bag of notes from which you create melodies. A specific raga may include each of these: a tuning system, a scale, and a tonic pitch. The tuning system may vary slightly among ragas that otherwise share the same scale. The scale may have a variable form depending on whether the player is moving up the scale or down the scale. And the concept of a tonic or home pitch is common in Western music. There are some other important pitches that have defined roles within the scale as well. Here are some other aspects to raga. Certain melodic motives may be associated with a particular raga or are especially appropriate for that raga. A set of pre-composed compositions that are unique to a raga have been passed down through oral transmission. Beginners play these as is, and more experienced players quote these compositions by working in phrases from them into their own compositions. Certain ornamentation practices, although these may vary according to the instrument playing. And then finally, extra musical associations outside of the music itself, such as the appropriateness of a particular raga for its ability to express certain emotions. Let's look at each of these governing principles of ragas a little closer, starting with the most basic elements, then layering on more detail. Shuti is Indian for microtone. Recall that a shuti box is the name of the reed organ used to create a drone. In the West, microtone means something smaller than our half step or half tone. But in Indian music, it means one division of the octave. So it's essentially equivalent to our half step, despite it having the meaning microtone. And like us, the Indian octave is divided into 12 intervals, or shuti. However, those intervals may be variable depending on the raga, the instrument, or the player. The Indian word for a heptatonic, or what we know as a 7-tone scale, is called a tat. It looks like the word that, but they pronounce it tat. Svara means pitch. So typically we have 7 pitches out of the entire 12 that are used. That's very similar to our Western system. There are 32 possible Hindustani tat that were classified in the early 20th century by a theorist. He found that the majority of the hundreds of known ragas could be classified under just 10 types of tat. If you look on page 255, we'll decode some of that terminology. Now, in our Western music, we have solfege syllables that help us learn how to sing and play melodies. You know these as do, re, mi, fa, so, la, and ti. Now, there are Indian solfege syllables as well: sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, and ni. Sa is the tonic, but not always the most important pitch. For example, there may be another tone called the vadi, around which a player may dwell during improvisation. The term kamal refers to a lowered tone, which is equivalent to our Western flat sign. Our Western sharp sign has its counterpart called tivra, and they call a natural shuddha. Now we have 2 terms that refer to the ascent and descent of a raga's tat, the arohana and the avarohana. Certain pitches in a raga may only occur if the melodic motion is descending in pitch. It's not unlike our melodic minor scale. The singular form of these nouns is aro and avaro. Note a couple of things. On the ascent, it skips over a note on ga, and the ni in ascent is ni shuddha, so be natural. Then in the descent, initially it continues ascending, but then the player skips down and moves by step, and then there's another little kink, a momentary change of direction in the descent. So it's a little more crooked as it comes down the scale. The final tonic, sa, is always approached from ni, below. So you'll hear three things here. First, you'll hear a simple ascent and descent through the Kamaj Tat, which sounds very much like our C Mixolydian scale. Then you'll hear the Tat with its characteristic aro, avaro, as notated here. And finally, you'll hear an actual melody that conforms to the shape of the Tat as it ascends and descends according to these rules. All right, here's the same Kamaj Tat, or scale, but now it's been transformed a bit in a different raga, which has a whole other set of rules for presenting it. The audio you'll hear is first the Tat up and down, and then you'll hear the aro arvar as shown here. Did you hear slides between pitches? This is ornamentations which the Indians call gamak, or plural gamaka. Unlike ornamentation in other music, these decorations are not improvised or optional, but they're rather embedded into the raga. Leaving them out would change the character of the raga. A chalan is yet a more expanded representation of a raga's characteristic rising and falling melody that includes characteristic motives. Note that now it's more than just a scale, but a pair of phrases, coming to brief cadences on ga and sa. For indoctrinated listeners of Indian classical music, it's not the tat or the rise and fall profile that's the most immediately recognizable melodic element of a raga. Rather, it's certain characteristic motives associated with the raga. In Indian music, these are known as pakar and are exposed in the raga's chalan as seen here. These motives are developed throughout the piece by the performer. These dogs! Beyond being a collection of characteristics governing pitch material, emotional aspects are also associated with a raga. Writings back as far as 200 BC associated artworks with specific feelings, or rasa, from a Sanskrit word meaning juice, essence, or flavor. The 9 basic raga are tragic, romantic joyful, heroic, comic, furious, fearful, odious, meaning unpleasantness or repulsion, surprising, and peaceful. Ragamala literally means a garland of ragas. Ragamala paintings are a series of illustrative works that depict various ragas. They stand as a classical example of the amalgamation of art, poetry, and classical music in medieval India. Ragamala paintings were created in the 16th and 17th century. In these paintings, each raga is personified by a color, mood, a verse describing a story of a hero and heroine. It also suggests the season and the time of day or night in which a particular raga is to be performed. This illustrates the raga Bilava, similar to our major scale, as meant to be performed in the morning. Many paintings also illustrate the specific Hindu deities attached with the raga. The paintings depict not only the personification of the ragas, but also their quote-unquote wives, which are called raginis. It may be associated, too, with their numerous sons and daughters, respectively called Ragaputra and Ragaputri. Have a listen to Raga Desh and Raga Kamaj examples posted on my website. And again, we won't have a quick quiz, but do review the reading, pages 253 through 259.